Hello everyone, welcome to the Hope Calls YouTube channel, where I channel messages for the collective from spirit, spirit guides, and benevolent forces beyond the veil such as angelic and divine forces and beings. Today my intention is especially strongly to bring through healing energies, potentially even activating energies, even more than, or at least as much as, bringing through messages. That is my intention for today's reading. Rather than doing a pick a card, I'm just doing one general collective reading, and I'm going to start with the Ostara Tara. That's why I have it on screen there. So I'm pulling it out of the box now so I can shuffle it and we can begin. Spirit guides, spirit, what can we bring through today to benefit our collective for the highest and best good of all? What are the messages that we want to start with? The energies that we can bring through for healing, for comfort and hope. All right, we have the Seven of Wands reversed first. If you've been here before, you know that I do like to read from the guidebook as well as channeling through the messages that come to me. My guides often will highlight specific snippets from descriptive books and passages. The Ten of Swords and the Eight of Swords reversed. I love that. Okay. I know it looks pretty grim, but I do love that that is reversed, actually. I'm curious about how this is going to play out with the rest of the reading. The Ten of Wands. And the King of Wands reversed. How interesting. We might need to move these up to make room for more cards in a little bit, but I'm going to slide them down so that they're out of the glare of the light for the moment. All right, we're going to start with these 5 cards and then pull some more in a moment. The reason I said I love the Eight of Swords being reversed is because the Eight of Swords is usually about being trapped in your own mind, your own thoughts and beliefs. Someone feeling incredibly trapped to the point that they cannot see a way out, but it turning out that a prison, so to speak, is not actually so immutable and is actually perhaps something that they, I don't want to say all in their head or something that they made up. That's not what I mean, but something that they can in fact see a way out of once they become aware of the overlays on their perception and the overlays on their reality that were causing them to feel so trapped. So in this instance, we have a falcon who appears to be trapped, but there's no one actually holding the glove. So the suggestion is that you are your own master here, but there might be something that you believe has control of you, or maybe not even a specific thing or person. There might just be past experiences that have formed beliefs that cause you to think it's not possible to truly be your own master, to truly have free will and to own your free will and take your own choices, make your own choices, excuse me. So I hope that that's making sense. The reason I was excited about that being reversed is because a lot of times with sword cards, when they're reversed, it's like the swords are falling out of the wound. So it's like you're actually leaving this phase. You're actually seeing your way out of the trap in the prison as we speak. So that's why I absolutely loved that for you, especially in conjunction with the Ten of Swords, because the Ten of Swords represents the end of a cycle that has culminated in a lot of overwhelm, a lot of mental strife and grief. I'm hearing grief very loudly, clairaudiently, and a lot of being kept up at night by racing thoughts type of feelings. This sense of drowning in the deep that we have in this card here. This guidebook for this particular deck does offer reversed meanings for the cards. Yes, and this is great confirmation. The reversed meaning for the Eight of Swords states, the reversed Eight of Swords indicates that you have made a positive step toward reclaiming some power after a challenging situation. You refuse to be a victim, and you are accountable for your own prosperity. If you were feeling overwhelmed or in denial before, then you have surely entered into a new period of clarity and freedom. So I am not about victim blaming or about telling people not to be a victim. Everyone at some point or another in their lives is victimized with the state of our human relationships today, to different extents, to be sure, for different people. But I'm not going to tell someone not to play the victim or not to be a victim when they have in fact been victimized. I am incredibly proud and happy, though, to hear that, or rather to see and hear clairaudiently, that our collective here is in a position of stepping into the light at the end of the tunnel, especially with the Ten of Wands emphasizing the Ten of Swords here. This has been a very heavy, burdensome situation. And whether it has been an external situation, an internal situation, or both, I find that most of the time it is a combination of both. You're in a position to truly feel a tangible difference from the sense of constriction and the place of limitations that you've been in. I get the feeling that we, this collective, are in a place where we are starting to feel room to breathe and to catch our breath. And from this position, we have the ability to make ever increasing gains and strides, to really gain momentum and have things begin to move and generate progress and results beyond what we might have thought possible. For the Seven of Wands reversed, this deck offers the meaning: you may be feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of life. Perhaps you see your responsibilities as a burden and you feel overwhelmed. You may be comparing yourself to others and getting bogged down in a cycle of doubt. So that points at how self-doubt and comparison could be part of the mental trap, or the sense of imprisonment in obligation or in standards that the Eight of Swords reflects. And with the progression in this reading, I do wonder if a sense of defeat with the Seven of Wands reversed. The Seven of Wands coming after the Six of Wands, which is a card of victory and even popularity, like gaining success that is recognized. The Seven of Wands represents someone who is in a position to defend their success, defend their title, perhaps, defend their honor, I just heard. So it being reversed reflects a sense of precariousness in that position. It reflects that you do actually have that position, and that it is the self-doubt and comparison that is making you feel more precarious in it. You have more ground under your feet than you realize with these cards together. And with the sense of progression here, I wonder if we're getting the sense of the Ten of Swords representing a dark night of the soul feeling, a difficult episode where you felt your thoughts or anxiety or depression get the best of you, and coming out on the other side of that, started to become aware of the ways that you could free yourself. Let's take a look at the Ten of Wands. And I'm really curious about the King of Wands reversed here. The Ten of Wands description in this deck suggests a humpback whale swims through the silhouette of a body embraced by arms. The tens of tarot represent the completion of a cycle. This 10 suggests that you are finally reaping the rewards after investing a great deal of effort. There is a strong sense of responsibility with this card, for while there is fulfillment and energy, there are also new burdens. The dream is no longer a lofty idea, but a concrete reality that requires a lot of hard work. You may feel overworked and stressed, and this card urges you to figure out a more long-term way of dealing with these challenges. Perhaps delegating tasks is necessary. Sorry, I was looking at the book, so my hand that was holding the card up closer for you drifted off screen a little bit. So often we think of the 10 of Wands as representing a time when you've kind of had the last straw, had the straw that broke the camel's back, and you've been carrying this heavy burden, and the 10 of Wands represents you finally putting it down, finally recognizing that it's too much, that it's not yours to carry, and letting it go. And I appreciate this deck offering the additional insight that that burden you've been carrying may not solely be a burden. You may have been working towards something that you do truly want. And you may be at a point where you are actually getting what you want. But finding that in that Seven of Swords position of having some success to defend, there are some challenges, whether or not you foresaw them, that you need new strategies to deal with. I get a sense also of there's an energetic feeling to it that I'm not sure I'll be able to put into eloquent words, because the image is almost like there being some grime left over at like the bottom of a bowl or cup from all the hard work or all the burdens that you've been carrying, and it now being a moment in time where, oh, you were just continuing to reuse that tool that still had the grime on it from the previous period of work, but it's actually starting to get in the way now, and it's time to take some TLC to that tool and clean it, polish it, sharpen it, depending on what type of tool it is. Are we talking about a bowl or a blade? I don't know. But to wash out that bowl, polish that blade, depending on what type of tool we're talking about. Maybe both. We both need to cut our food and have a bowl to serve it in, right? So yes, being in a time where realizing, oh, okay, it's actually time for me to clear away the fog, clear away the debris from this past episode that is clogging up my mind, making it hard to sleep at night, making me feel imprisoned by my past instead of seeing what I've been through in the past as fertile ground for me to grow my new success out of. I'm seeing it as holding me back. I'm seeing it with a lens of doubt and thinking that something about it makes me not as good as other people. When in reality, you truly have, not in a trite way at all, but genuinely as a result of how much work you have poured into your own recovery and healing, you truly have come out the other side of your past struggles and traumas stronger. Not because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger in terms of giving what you went through the credit for that strength, but because of your hard work with the 10 of Wands interpretation here. And so there's all this noise, whether it's from other people presently. I'm getting the feeling that for most of us in this group, it is from echoes of past voices that we've kind of taken on as if they're our own in our minds. And also with this discussion of beliefs that don't serve us, also layers of meaning that we're putting over the things that happened in the past. What if it doesn't really mean that you're not good enough, or that you did something wrong, or that it was your fault, or that you're shameful or disgusting, that such and such thing happened to you and that it affected you in the way it did? What if it actually, from the point of view of someone who really loved you, would be a testament to how incredibly strong and the opposite of all those negative things, how much pride you should have in yourself, how beautiful and glorious you appear through the eyes of love, for the way you survived, not only survived, but conquered those obstacles with grace. And I am, from our collective spirit guides and spirit as a whole, receiving this beautiful sense of strong, loving arms that are kind of giving a little bit of a loving shake to the shoulders, like, oh my gosh, please see yourself how we see you. And also a sense of support, and we've got your back, and we're ready with a hug if you need it, from these spirit beings, because they do see you through the eyes of love. Source, Spirit, God, the universe, your spirit guides, angelic and divine beings that are benevolent and have your best interests at heart do see you through the eyes of love. And what if you took away the old glasses, or perhaps transmuted those old glasses or goggles by looking at your own present situation and past situation and selves through the eyes of love? How does that change how you see yourself? How does that change how you see how you have navigated through your life's challenges? Do you stop blaming yourself for carrying a heavy burden, going, oh, I should have realized that I could have put this down so long ago? And do you start realizing, wow, I really put in a lot of work. I'm so dedicated. I deserve to be lauded for how fierce and devoted I am in the name of the things that I truly care about and pursue from my heart and with my whole heart. And that fire of the heart, the passions that are not fleeting or superficial or show-offy, done just to impress people, but the passions that are truly from the heart, is a fire that I am getting from this King of Wands imagery here, this candle-like glow in this stag here. The light of the crown chakra is called to mind. Every single cell of us is connected to Source, but one of the kind of biggest pipelines, so to speak, the biggest channels that we have is through our crown chakra. And to be lit up with that sense of purpose, of I know why I'm here. I feel my connection to the divine, to the universe, my connection to everyone else and all that is. And I am lit up by that. And I see that as my North Star that I can align myself and my actions with. That's something that, where this is reversed right now, I see that as potentially being a light that feels dimmed or just fogged up. It may feel dimmed, but in reality it is simply fogged up by all the things that have been kind of clogging, the pipeways clogging, not pipeways, but pathways, fogging the mirror. That grime on the cup or the blade that we were talking about could also be the grime on the mirror or the lens, the goggles. So with this having come out reversed, I see that light as having been obscured in some way by the layers of meaning that we've put over what we've been through here in this group. And that as you start to come out of this sense of imprisonment by seeing yourself this way, by feeling that how painful and incredibly hurtful some of the suffering you've been through and some of the victimization you've been through was, seeing that as if it reflects on you or makes your whole life heavy or is somehow part of who you are rather than merely being what you've been through. I see that light of purpose and connection being lit up, having been obscured by those types of thoughts and beliefs and meaning making that can add extra weight to suffering. And I see you, I see us coming towards really stepping back into that light, almost as if it's a spotlight from source. And feeling our whole lives lit up by that. Starting with our heart, feeling your heart lit up by it. And that just overflowing from there. The King of Wands in this deck has the keywords natural born leader, vision, entrepreneur, and honor. The reversed meaning states the reversed King of Wands indicates someone who is rash, hasty, and overbearing. Be wary of using someone or of being used. The fire element can be one of energy and creativity, but if not harnessed with care, it can also burn through a forest at lightning speed, causing only destruction. The upright meaning, just so that we can take into account the possibility of the progression that I was talking about before. The upright meaning says, the king stag rests in his meadow, his wand growing green with life and his crown ablaze with light. The King of Wands represents pure fire energy. Unlike other wand cards, the king doesn't pursue specific aspirations, but rather seeks to change the world to match his vision. He excels at leading others to do the work for him through encouragement and influence. This card indicates that you are passionate and goal-oriented, and that you possess a long-term purpose. He warns against arrogance or aggression in the pursuit of your goals. Consider the ideas of others and accept help when you are in need of it. Yes, that upright meaning is really being highlighted for me. Seeks to change the world to match his vision, it says. And I see that as almost this mirror opposite of the sense of being trapped in a reality that is actually an overlay and not accurate to the objective reality that we have from the Eight of Swords. So I see this progression again where we are in the process of turning our King of Wands back upright, because we are coming out of the sense of being trapped and back into our power to change our own worlds, to have an impact and an influence tangibly on the external reality of our lives through our actions, words, beliefs, thoughts, the way we interact with others. And becoming a lighthouse, a leader by example in the process without necessarily even meaning or trying to. I think it's immensely valuable, not to put pressure on yourself to take on that role, but to recognize how much significance even the smallest actions or shifts in your way of approaching your life, your attitude towards the world and yourself, those shifts have a powerful, powerful impact on the people around you. When you walk into a room, you being kind of curled up into yourself and feeling trapped versus being grounded, calm, steady, and radiant is a very different impact to have on the room. And that's not at all to blame you for having felt trapped. You didn't do that to yourself. Things did happen to you that made you feel that way. And the point is not those things didn't happen or that you're magically making them not happen by coming out of this mental imprisonment. It's recognizing that those things are over and uncovering for yourself what your internal world requires of you for your internal sense of peace and well-being to no longer feel held back, restrained, and held hostage by those things that happened in the past. And that personal empowerment truly does radiate out to the rest of the world in a marvelous way. So again, it's not to put pressure on you or to blame you for unwittingly perhaps having an impact that you wish you hadn't had in the past when you actually meant no harm. It's not that at all. It's just recognizing, wow, this is another amazing reason to be proud of myself for how far I've come and for the steps I'm taking towards my own healing, towards my own empowerment, towards a life of passion for myself. I want to draw some cards to actually clarify the King of Wands reverse there, because I want to kind of check and see whether that reversed meaning about beware of using the people or being used. I want to check and see if that has some more messages for us. And I just realized before I move on to that clarification, though, this whole time I was looking at this as upright, when in fact this is actually how this card looks in reverse. Because these had their numbers on the bottom, I was thinking, oh, this is upright, but actually when I checked the depiction in the guidebook, the upright version would be like this. And as I've said before about the Ten of Swords, when the Ten of Swords is turned upside down, the blades begin to loosen and gradually fall away. As this guidebook says, wounds never mend instantly, but remember that in order to heal, one must first survive the battle. This 10 now urges you to make the best of this second chance, but also reminds you to be patient with yourself as you move past these turbulent waters. What a beautiful message. What a beautiful message. I'm so happy that came through for us. Okay, Spirit, is there anything else here? Okay, this Ten of Wands is also reversed. I'm so glad I checked this. Upright, it would look like this, and this is reversed. Ten of Wands reversed indicates that you are unnecessarily holding on to a burden that is no longer serving you. Do not take on more than you can handle, and be wary of doing work for others at the expense of your own happiness. If you are going through a challenging time, the Ten of Wands foretells a coming release from a negative cycle. Beautiful. I'm so glad those messages came through. I often notice with reversed cards coming out that a little bit of the upright meaning can come through as well as the reversed meaning, and I'm so glad that we got kind of a comprehensive read on those cards. So I'm feeling drawn to draw more of the cards from the same deck to get some clarification on the King of Wands here. Okay. We have the Eight of Pentacles reversed and the Nine of Pentacles reversed. These ones I can tell more easily because there's a figure on them that is more clearly upright versus upside down to my perspective. The Eight and Nine of Pentacles, a card of study and diligence, the Eight, and the Nine, a card of independent affluence, reaching a sense of abundance where you feel able to stand on your own 2 feet and feel self-sufficient. Feeling called to read those two first. Something that stands out to me about this card whenever I see it is this incredibly fierce, protective lynx or other wild cat here. This figure gets to rest and repose while this one makes sure that they are taken care of. No one's going to mess with them while they're napping, even if they do actually have all those coins with them, because this one is protecting them. So with this being in reverse, I do wonder if some of this self-doubt and negative self-concept energy that we've been discussing has actually been damaging your ability or willingness to stand up for yourself, to step into self-protection and self-empowerment in that way. That can be very challenging, very difficult in many situations, regardless of these other factors. But with what we got from working for others at the expense of your own happiness and the Ten of Wands reversed, I wonder if that, especially with the Pentacles, of course, that does talk about the expense, the cost of your patterns or actions or of what you do and don't stand up for. And with this cauldron here, with this being upside down, it does give me this sense of this diligence that you have, this hard work and studiousness that you have with the Eight of Pentacles, ideally would or should be being poured into yourself, into your cauldron, into something that would feed you, and might be being drained away. And therefore you're being called to step into that protectiveness, to let go of these burdens and other thoughts that are holding you back, and to avoid being used, as we talked about. And sometimes when we are in that circumstance, we do find that we've inadvertently, maybe without realizing it, not noticed that someone else in our lives also wasn't setting their boundaries with us. And sometimes that can be a wake-up call as well. Eight of Coins reversed in the deck description says, you might be feeling frustrated because of mistakes or wasted effort. Take a step back from the current projects you are investing your time into. When reversed, this card means you're either doing something wrong within your work, have made a mistake that will require significant resources to fix, or are misdirecting your efforts. Consider the old adage, work smart, not hard. And then the Nine of Coins reversed advises, worry that you have counted on success too soon. It is an illusion, and it is not time to rest on your laurels just yet. Ceasing now could cause everything you have built to crumble. Take a moment to re-energize. Don't give up. So I don't want to be alarmist with that message, but I do see how when we do get into a holding pattern with self-doubt and self-harming thoughts that are kind of chewing away at our self-esteem, there can be the possibility of setting ourselves back by gnawing at our own internal strength, and by, with the Eight of Pentacles reversed here, pouring our energy and efforts into something that isn't giving back to us. I think we need some more clarification here, though. Let's see. See, the Nine of Coins upright meaning is drawing me in more, really. Because it says, a woman and her mountain lion lounge in a resplendent vineyard, surrounded by wealth and beauty. The Nine of Coins is a card of retirement. Your work is done, and now is the time to revel in your success. The resting lion represents past battles now laid to rest. A legacy has been built, and for the moment is preserved. Enjoy yourself without guilt. Indulge, you've earned it. There is also an aspect of introspection to this card. Focus on finding happiness in all you have accumulated. Sometimes it takes focus to realize just what it is you've accomplished and where to head from there. And that is just so perfectly in alignment with the things I've been channeling that were not from the card description book, that I just feel so drawn to that upright description. And it makes me think that we are meant to kind of take both the upright and reversed meanings with a heavy grain of salt, because we are meant here to recognize our empowerment with how we approach the situations in our lives and perceive them and mentally form our attitude towards them and our lens over them. And that can be the dime on which our current success or failure hinges, on which it turns. So this can be a moment to really enjoy how far you've come, even though it may not be that your legacy has been completely built yet. Enjoy how far you've come, so that you don't kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater and treat your progress and your success so far as if it's nothing, as if it can simply be or should be discarded because it's worthless. Don't let voices that diminish your self-worth cause you to discount and discard the things that you've built so far. Don't let them cause you to turn against yourself. You may not know for sure yet that your legacy is secure. You may not be in that secure a position. But whether it is time to kind of turn over a new leaf or simply to rest and forge on with the legacy that you are currently building, that is up to you. And now is a moment where you can rest and regroup either way. And do enjoy how far you've come without guilt, regardless of how much farther there is to go. These cards do suggest a certain amount of vigilance being needed, a certain amount of diligence being called for. So it may not be, vacation time in terms of what I'm talking about with a moment to rest and regroup, but that doesn't mean you can't have a moment to rest and regroup and approach your life with more ease and less stress and burnout. I just split the deck to the Lovers. That was unplanned. And then underneath that we have, oh, how interesting, the Nine of Swords, but it was reversed, which I think is continuing to echo this thought that we've had about the swords falling away. But it's so interesting. We have the Wildcat here and the Wildcat there, and this one is fully poised to defend. We have the 8, 9, and 10 of Swords. This has definitely been a hard time, and some of you might still be in the thick of it. But if you are, this 8, 9, and 10 is definitely signaling that you are approaching the end of it. And these messages are suggesting that you have the means, by changing how you approach the situation, to bring it to an end as quickly as possible. For some of you with the internal battles, just by getting a good night's sleep and reframing how you think about yourself and your life, which I know is a lot easier said than done. But it also bears mentioning that it isn't always, this rigorous, 8 of Pentacles, devoting yourself to the study of how to do it. Sometimes you can do it without it being quite so much effort, and that could be where you're feeling that effort is wasted, because you're approaching yourself with this taskmaster like lens, instead of your passions fueling you like the upright King of Wands would, you beating down on yourself and actually damaging your own fire, or obscuring your own light that way. When the Nine of Swords is drawn reversed, this deck says, it can cut at least 2 ways. On the one hand, it may describe a person who has reached the end of their rope and fallen deep into self-pity and despair. On the other hand, it can also signify a glimmer of hope at the end of a very dark period. Recovery takes a lot of care, effort, willpower, and time. I absolutely can hardly believe how perfectly that synchronizes with what I was talking about your current steps forward, being able to turn on a dime depending on how you shift your focus towards yourself and your life. The Lovers is also a card of choice. So that is really, being a major arcana, that is really strongly doubling down on that message of you have choices in terms of doubling down on keeping yourself trapped and doubling down on ways of doing things that haven't been working for you, or on capitalizing on the room to breathe that you've got in yourself and on how far you've come, and reveling in it and in being proud of yourself and taking steps forward through those eyes of love that we were talking about. What would someone who loved themselves do? What would I do? Or what would I counsel a friend that I loved deeply, a family member, a partner, to do? How would I approach them? Can I approach myself with the same tenderness, with the same deep care? And how would that change how I approach my work, my tasks, my everyday life? And that can really turn your life around. It really can. The phrase make or break comes to mind, but I really don't want to put that pressure of, oh, you have the ability to break your life on you. I want to emphasize how much you can save your own life. And with the King of Wands advising against using someone or being used, is it possible that you're treating yourself like a thing to be used? And that might be reflected by what you are tolerating in your relationships with others or with your work. And it might be time to demand a less hostile work environment within your own mind and within your own being, and to really create that more nourishing environment with more room to thrive for yourself. I just wanted to see if I could reduce that glare a little bit. You're getting a little bit of you got a little view of my hair on the screen there while I did that. I'm so glad I did that. I didn't realize I didn't need to have it so close to the table. I thought it would be too dim over here if I didn't have it so close, but I really didn't need to have that glare there the whole time. Thanks for bearing with me. Let's see. Strength card in reverse. Oh my gosh. This whole message is so in alignment. Thank you, Spirit, for clarifying what we needed to know here. Thank you so much for bringing through these messages and this energy of support today. So the Strength card has the keywords heart, creativity, power, and control. Strength reversed is often a clear indication of weakness. If times are difficult and your inner strength is failing you, the root of your strife is self-confidence. Perhaps you've allowed your emotions to get the better of you and you're feeling vulnerable. If you exercise control and composure, anxiety or anger need not dictate your life. So this is about shifting the narrative of your picture of self-control. Heart was one of the key words, and we have this glowing heart and this gorgeous sleeping dragon and the sun and moon lighting the way over the shoulders. Sorry about my shaky hands, friends. And this person, this figure has been through battle, has been scarred, has the eye patch, and is someone who has the strength to ride with dragons, I don't even want to say tame dragons, but to coexist with them, to work with them, to fight alongside them, potentially even lead them, especially with this coming out above the King of Wands, which is such a strong leadership card. And I love the fire element coming out there when we have the fire of the dragons in the strength card there. But approaching self-control in this way of tightening the reins on yourself and tightening your restrictions on yourself is going to drain you and make you feel weakened. It's going to create more vulnerabilities, whereas rooting your strength in your heart and approaching your sense of self-empowerment, taking charge of your own life, that type of self-control, self-mastery, like we talked about with the gauntlet and the hawk there. Having self-mastery that is rooted in, I love myself, I want the best for myself, I'm not going to tolerate less, but I'm also going to be patient and kind with myself, like we saw in the Ten of Swords. That is a whole different ballgame. And a person might use just the same phrase of, self-control or strength or self-mastery to describe it, but that type of true self-mastery is very different from that restrictive quality of self-control. So with this being in reverse, you're being called to turn that around for yourself. And we have seen here that you're in a moment that is to your advantage to be able to do so. You're in a moment where you've started to get the room to breathe. There's a crack in the there's like a hole in the film that the firefly is under. There's a crack you can breathe through. There's a crack you can see light through. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Capitalize on that. You have the full support of your spirit team and of spirit in general. I just accidentally flipped open the guidebook to the Temperance card, and then got the strong message from my spirit guides that this wasn't an accident. We actually want this message to come through. The description says, predator and prey burst forth from a box clasped in a woman's hands. Everything in this world hinges on the nuances of balance. Where something is taken, it must be given. Light is necessary to cast a shadow. Temperance appears to encourage you to maintain equilibrium, as you have so far. You are praised for your thoughtfulness and peaceful nature. It takes developing a special thoughtfulness to understand the duality of the world and to accept your place within it. Access your inner knowledge to answer your queries and trust yourself. This is a card of self-reflection and careful planning. So the imagery of predator and prey bursting forth. We have here this bird of prey who has been made to feel as though they are prey themselves. We have other predators here as well, the wild cats, another bird of prey. This dragon here. I don't know if whales are, and I know that deer are typically not predator animals, but my point being that this Temperance card is echoing so strongly these messages about not attacking yourself and restoring your own equilibrium by restoring balance to your inner relationships and letting that be reflected in what you tolerate from others as well, and how you give and receive, what you pour into your external relationships, and what you ask for or demand out of them, or request or get out of them. So I'm being given the message that the messages from that deck are complete, and I'm being drawn to get some tea leaf oracle messages before we wrap up. I have no idea if it's going to be just a few or a bunch of tea leaf oracle messages. We will find out together. I'm pulling out my tea leaf oracle deck now. This has been such a beautiful reading. There is such a balance with that Temperance card of the sense of urgency from Spirit of please capitalize on this. Please don't let yourself come to further harm unnecessarily. Please let us help you and don't hurt yourself. But there's also, like I said, with the balance, there's also a sense of deep peace and calm, and part of the don't hurt yourself is don't hurry, stress, worry, burn yourself out. We have vulture again with these birds here. Depression, anxiety, worry that someone is against you. And again, that may be with what we were speaking of, the sense of, I feel like I have, an enemy in my own mind, and I feel like I just can't quiet my thoughts, that sort of thing, where it's time to examine how we can get back on our own side. How would we speak to ourselves or treat ourselves if we loved ourselves, if we were our best friend, if we were someone that we loved? How would we treat ourselves then? What advice would we give someone we loved? Wall, misunderstanding. So of course my first thought on that is the sense of a misunderstanding between different aspects of ourselves, with what we were just talking about, getting different parts of yourself on the same page. But I also I feel that this relates strongly to the overlay of the negative self-concept and the negative beliefs, the overlay of the past on the present. That can cause the present reality to be greatly misunderstood. And we want you to have accurate, appropriate responses to the present reality. So that sometimes means taking a pause, which one of these tarot descriptions recommended as well, taking a pause to reflect and soothe your nervous system before deciding how to respond and react if you aren't sure. Make informed choices rather than choices that are impulsive and rash, like the King of Wands reversed, or that are blinded with the Lover's figures blindfolded here. Weeping Willow, family sorrow. So for some of you, this, for many of us, I would say, the self-doubt, the issues with self-confidence, these overlays often are inherited, not even just from our immediate family, but from generations upon generations back. These protection mechanisms that ultimately end up hurting ourselves develop over generations that way. There's a great relief from zooming out to that generational picture and realizing this wasn't on me. This may not even have been entirely from or based on the specific individuals I grew up with who may have negatively influenced me, negatively impacted me, or hurt me, or victimized me very badly. Of course, responsibility should be allocated accordingly, but zooming out to see how victims of victims of victims of victims of victims have formed these hardened shells of protection mechanisms and these internal taskmasters that think they have to drive someone to perfectionism by beating themselves up. These get passed down through generations. It's like this out of control train, and you are at a profound moment where you can be the one that this generational curse, so to speak, no longer runs away with. But mostly the message here is to take that sense of pressure off by zooming out to the big picture and realizing this isn't personal in that sense. It makes it so much less personal to realize how these chains have passed on through the generations, instead of thinking, what did I do wrong? Or even, what did my parents do wrong? You know, not that those things aren't worth examining, but sometimes it can become part of this rumination that is self-harming that we've been discussing. The Dragon card does say beware of self-delusion, and I think that is very important with the misunderstanding that we were talking about. But I also have to laugh because of the dragon that came out here. So this is so strongly about how you have the power to pivot and capitalize on that power and use it wisely, because the negative self-concept is a delusion, and you can double down on that and go that way, or you can move in the direction of quote-unquote taming the dragon, becoming a dragon rider, becoming a dragon warrior, where instead of feeling like your own mind, your own self is this dragon that's out to get you and is going to burn you with these out-of-control flames, they are your ally. You are your own ally. Your own spirit, your own passions, your own life force is getting poured back into yourself, and is a strength that you can gently employ rather than, creating this relationship of enmity between you and yourself, between you and your internal dragon, by having this relationship of, whipping the dragon. All right, so the tea leaf messages are complete with that. Do we have any final messages that want to come through, Spirit? Because this message is pretty clearly complete to the point that I am starting to repeat myself. The cards are starting to repeat themselves. Are there any lost messages? I'm being drawn to pull one of the energy oracle cards. I'm feeling a sense of wanting to bring through a final message of encouragement. So here's the energy oracle deck. Let's shuffle and see if one of these wants to give us some parting messages for affirming your strength, bringing some healing energy through. Or perhaps any further guidance. We have the door to value here, and it did initially come out in reverse, which is very interesting. Let's see here. Spirit, do we want any more cards from this deck? Okay, no. That was a no. Number 31, the door to value. And this deck does offer reversed meanings as well. So the reversed meaning, this card signifies a partial or perhaps even potentially complete closing of the door. The hoped for new opportunity where money or career is concerned may be delayed or possibly even derailed. This does reflect back to the 8 and 9 of Pentacles reversed messages. The description for this oracle card continues, don't be disheartened, however. This card reversed reminds you not to put all your eggs in one basket. That's so funny. That was exactly what the 9 of Pentacles reversed said. Diversify your interests and your efforts and let your intuition guide you to the next open doorway. In the meantime, open your heart and your mind to the other sources of value in your life. Money is a commodity, but so are time, tranquility, and love. Choose to open the doors of these wonderful experiences yourself and find real value there. And an affirmation offering, my life is opening to endless possibilities of prosperity. The river of abundance flows freely through my door, bringing me unlimited wealth. So I see you if you are in a moment of disappointment right now, because this card does reflect that portion of the 8 and 9 of Pentacles messages from them being reversed. And we had that message as well with the 10 of Swords, the 10 of Wands. You've just been through something very difficult, whether it's a disappointment or a loss, or feeling that you've wasted effort or missed an opportunity. But the way that you treat yourself, being patient and kind to yourself and gentle with yourself, and loving and forgiving and merciful toward yourself, have mercy on your own soul and your own mind and heart. That is going to open many more doors to come to all sorts of other types of currencies. Love and tranquility, like this deck said, time, that you might have missed out on if you continued down a path that might have led you to burnout. So, not to sugarcoat or gloss over any very real disappointments you've had, but to help you find true strength and solace and resolve in the moment that you are in, by seeking the companionship available to you, the spiritual guidance available to you, the spiritual healing from your spirit team available to you. You are ready. You may need a little bit of a rest, a pause to soothe your nervous system and reflect and clarify internally what next steps from a self-loving perspective would be. But from that place of self-restoration, you'll be ready to continue down that long road of recovery that the 10 of Swords card talked about. And to recover your heart from any trenches where it feels like it was lost. You can do it. There is nothing stopping you except perhaps your own mind. And I thank you so much for tuning in to these messages, and I hope that they have helped you and resonated in some way. I wish for these messages to be of benefit. Take what benefits you and leave the rest. And I wish you the best, truly, with walking forward on this new path, having mercy and kindness and patience toward yourself, being loving and gentle as well. Take good care.